Okay, so the topic of the week is defending like reasonably early stage through the legs passes. So there's two major positions people will look for. That'll be headquarters, okay, or the cross knee through. Okay, this is usually going to set up them eventually working into like a late stage knee cut or half guard pass, right? But before that, well, today we're going to go over just headquarters, defending headquarters. So as a general strategy, headquarters is basically when my foot's in the middle, right? So he's trapped one of my legs and my other one's still on the outside. And you can set up offense from here. There's ways to attack and try to counter your opponent from here. But I think that the more layers you give away, the more risky it starts to become to attack. And if you're wanting to play perhaps the safest type of game, then it means when someone goes to step over your leg, you should work quite hard to free that leg again. Okay, so you've got an extra layer of defense. Okay, so like you can play guard from headquarters as he comes in closer. Maybe I can play guard from a knee shield as well, but this is getting even more risky. I'm losing more layers of the guard. So the issue is if I mess up, things are worse. Okay, so often it's a good idea to just like push your opponent back layers. So one of them is headquarters, and we're going to be going through like how to try and recover back into an open guard from here. Okay, the first thing to talk about is just not getting into headquarters. So when my foot's dangling past, see the line of my hip here? If my foot's past the line of my hip, it's not too hard for Ollie to step over that. Okay. Some other things will stop. If I've got a good De La Riva hook and a good angle around here, he's going to find that hard to step over. Okay. But when he's cleared the De La Riva hook and he's looking to step over the leg, the fact that my foot dangles past the line of my hip is a problem. So all I have to do is, to make it really difficult, is take my foot past the line of the hip. Right. If I'm like this and he tries to step to headquarters, really awkward. Okay. So a couple of things that will do that. One, they both require some degree of flexibility, but if you can fold your leg a little this way, right? Also rolling your hip up. Okay, so even if, let's say if I'm just here, if I roll my hips back, it's also now very difficult to step over into headquarters. So a combination of the two, okay? And Ollie's trying to step over to headquarters. I can do this and coming back. Okay, every time he goes for it, I just circle my foot in and back into the bicep. He goes to step over, my foot comes back and into the bicep. And you don't even get put there. That's way better than having to deal with the fact that they get there. Okay. So that's kind of number one. Number two, we'll talk about like you can try to off balance your opponent. That's usually if you're holding the leg, like he steps over, you can try to like kick them forward and make them post, right? That's especially like a De La Riva sort of strategy. Let's assume I don't have De La Riva though, and Ollie steps over the leg, right? So he's actually now like kind of establishing the headquarters position. The major thing here that I try to think about is not giving this space between my thigh and my shoulder. My knee and my shoulder. Okay, so if Ollie can put his knee down to the ground or separate my knee away like this, I'm now in a lot of trouble. That leg is now pretty much useless, and that space that he's taken towards passing. Okay, so I also when he takes this leg away, it kind of turns me on my side, and it's very hard for me to turn back, and it opens up a lot of passing options. If I'm instead focusing on keeping my knee like pretty much tucked under my arm, so bringing my knee up, scooping here, and if Ollie's putting that down, okay, it kind of keeps me flat. So if he's trying to turn me this way, it's not too easy to do. I've got a bit of base with my elbow on the ground, so my elbow's kind of like preventing me tilting, and I'm scooping my knee up and keeping that so I can keep my shoulders flat. When Ollie tries to turn me here, that's kind of difficult. And this is going to be really important. If he tries to do something like a smash pass, it's really hard to turn my hips. I can stay pretty flat and I can start to recover. I can also, if he goes to something like a knee cut, right? There's not much space to get in for underhooks and set up good attacks here, right? So pretty much the first thing we do as they step over is we close this gap off. It's also going to allow me to high pummel this leg to actually recover. Alright. With my right leg and my right arm, I'm going to try to make space. Okay, so as he steps over, my knee's in the center. I'd rather keep this in the center. If I fold it too far this way, it tends to give the smash. If I put it to the outside, yeah, you guys either knee cut or even just like, my knee goes on the outside. He might also bring his chest down and close the gap here. Okay, so knee tends to go in the center, and my right hand just helps make distance as well. To get the most out of this frame, head goes to the mat, right? So it'd be really intuitive for you to sit up and push like this, okay? But I can, like this frame's not that strong here. If you lean into that a bit, it's gonna go and push me back, right? If instead my head's planted like this, I've got like a full structure through my shoulder, through my neck, onto the ground here. I'll often tilt my head a little out to the left as well. Okay, it kind of gives me a little bit of base when he tries to turn me this way. Okay, so I'm kind of pushing him away like this. Right. Once we're there, our major way of recovering is to pummel our foot over this arm. Okay, so we get here, I make a little space with my right leg and arm. I take my foot over the shoulder, and then no matter how hard he tries to keep my leg between his legs, I can push and retract. Okay. Again, steps over. Okay, I put my head to the mat, I scoop my knee up, right, so I don't really let him get pressure on this leg properly, and I can pummel over the top to recover. If he separates my knee, okay, this is now considerably worse. One of my main goals is to get that knee scooped back up again, okay? So, by the way, this is all stuff that obviously I work with Ari a lot with, so especially because we're filming, I should acknowledge that Casey just stole this from Ari. So, I want to scoop this leg up, okay? So, obviously I can't do that now, but if I just push him back a little bit, see the knee lift. You're probably not going to push, probably unlikely you're going to push him all the way back that you just pummel that leg, but you might get enough that as you push, you can scoop. My head comes in, I scoop underneath. Okay, now I've got my leg, if he puts weight back on that, I can start to roll my hips back. Okay, so I'm back to where I was before. Okay. The high pummel is going to be really important if they grab your shin. All right, so here, I can't just put my foot back on the shoulder. Okay, I want to make as much space as possible by like pushing him away. Take my foot up and over the top of the forearm. Okay, so I've got to chop. Like you can't chop in, you can't bring your foot straight back at them. You need to turn it and chop through the forearm to get back in front. Okay, so Ollie's obviously like 7'4", so let's see if I can actually high pummel off his grip. But if he's holding that leg tight, trying to stop that leg coming in, I really want to come higher. And once I get that angle on the inside, see how my foot's turned on the inside, I can use my hand to assist. So hold that leg. Okay, I should be able to chop in and recover. Okay. So let's go again. They step over. Ideally, we're here very early. Okay, sorry. Go back in. Earlier again, as he goes to step over, I just pummel. That hip's coming up. I pummel. He does step over. Okay, I keep this closed off. Knee in front, I pummel. If he manages to separate my knee, okay, push, scoop, and pummel. Right. Last one is he actually like leans in a lot. Okay, so maybe I'm trying to push away to a high pummel, but he's like put a lot of weight through that leg. Yeah, he's really jamming that down. Okay, so I'm really struggling to make that space. This is where I do the off balance. Okay, so I go from pushing away with my right leg to collapsing in and then redirect him out here. I'm going to try and make him post it here. So as I'm pushing, always pulling back, I can't make space to pummel. I collapse and I push him at this one. So we're going like here, everything comes in, and then we can use that to tilt them out to the side. Right. Once you do that, you should feel it's very easy to recover. So it's here, collapse, push, okay, and I'm back into it. So that's defending headquarters. Have a go.